Hi, welcome back. My name is Kei Tyler, and this is Astrology in the Wild. We talk about evolutionary astrology and a lot of the planetary energies that might be affecting your everyday life. Today is the beginnings of the full moon in Cancer. Full moon is when the moon is opposite the sun. So that's what makes it big and bright in the sky. I am going to be reading some notes to keep us in order, and throughout the video, you'll see the text come along. In Mercury retrograde fashion, I had some issues with my other recordings, but third time's a charm, right? All right, so we're talking about the full moon in Cancer, and I believe that this really is a release to create more space for other things to come in. So while this energetic effect lasts 3 days, with trying to really bring this into your life in a rapid rate, of course, it's going to create a trickle-down effect with the rest of your life. And so what happens is maybe there's an ability for you to have more, even while you're dealing with losses, maybe the loss of a job, maybe a decrease in pay, whatever the circumstance of loss looks like for you. There are a lot of people who have exited the world in the past couple days, and so and a lot of prominent figures. So as you can imagine, these are interesting times. What I notice about the chart, I'll put it here, is that Ceres is at 4 degrees in the house of Cancer. So we have this Cancer moon, and it makes me look at the 4th house because Cancer represents the 4th house. And Ceres is the harvest. It's the harvest of bringing relationship to one's life, good relationship, healthy relationship, one that is emotionally mature, one that feels loyal, one that feels respectful. And so whatever you are trying to bring to your life, which I hope is a dynamic that makes you feel that you are you and you are no one else, because you understand that the way that you get to your goals looks a little different than others and looks a little different than the lineage you came from. You're really going to have to figure out how to transform that as you let go of maybe not celebrating Christmas again, or maybe not delving into traditions that make you feel awful. So those might be some ideas you could be thinking about, but that's kind of the idea around this full moon, is bringing to light your own personal harvest, what you desire for yourself in a very practical way. And practical meaning, are you able to identify the certain problems that you're wanting to fix? Or do you feel really good with where you're at and that's where you're going to stay? I also see a really good time to slow your eating so that you can digest. So through the holidays, we tend to overconsume a lot of things, and when the moon is full, we might feel full of emotions, full of processing that makes us want to create a different situation for the time being. Maybe there's some lingering feelings, maybe lingering feelings of self-worth, of self-value, because the moon is in the 2nd house. And so it's a good moon to think about these ideas, you know. Is my self-worth strong? And do I have the ability to make decisions for myself, regardless of who is around me? Am I able to communicate my needs so that everyone around me can adapt to that? Uh, do I feel safe to do that? You know, so those might be some things that might come to you, um, and in order to properly poop, you have to give yourself some time in between eating. And if you've been constantly grazing, you might be feeling bloated. Your belly might feel full. You might have a lot of indigestion. Um, you might get a couple stomach problems if you don't try to address it in the next couple days. The Leo moon is a good moon to, you know, spice up your diet so that your digestive enzymes can wake up and flush things out. Um, so I implore you to increase your fasting windows or cut your eating off at 7 p.m. That way your body has the time to process. Capricorn can represent on the body the anus. And because it's in the eighth house in this full moon, um, it's a good idea to address health in this way. Proper digestion leads to healthy pooping, leads to healthy colon, leads to toxicity being removed from the body. And so really focus on your digestion and how you feel, being in your body and realizing how the things that you're taking in, how they affect the way that you feel. Um, because that is the way to change, is not cutting your body off, not pushing it aside, but just addressing it. And so, yeah, fasting can bring that. Also, reduction in any of the things that you rely upon that might not be healthy. Um, so, reducing it by half, reducing it by a third, whatever feels okay to you. You don't have to quit it forever. You don't have to let it go completely for now, but if you work at it little by little, by cutting out just a tiny bit, over time, it will really grow to something much larger. That's what that means by releasing just a little bit so that you can create space for more to come, right? Okay. So, another idea that I had around this full moon is that no more secrets. Everything is going to be out in the open. Everything's going to start coming out into the open now and in the next couple weeks, especially next week as Mars comes out of retrograde. We'll talk about that briefly. But the secret about your value and where you see yourself, it's a good time to assess being vulnerable now while people are able to listen, why people aren't being very aggressive with their ideas and their worries. Um, so you might be able to have a good conversation or connect emotionally in a good way. The moon is in a good place. Um, and so you might be able to let down some walls and tell someone something that they need to know, or maybe making your career something that's larger for you, or turning a hobby into something that can bring some personal value, that can change your life in a meaningful way, can make you feel like you're giving birth to something. With the moon in the eighth house, with the sun in the eighth house and the moon in the second house, we are in the Taurus Scorpio axis. And the nodes of the moon are also in this axis. And so it really does point to still this idea of being a magnet. the magnetism of creating and allowing for particular things to be drawn to you, because you're clear, because you're being creative, and you are feeling empowered. So what this could potentially mean is being a magnet by creating structure around your personal experiences with money, loss, new roles, and tearing down the establishment. So what do I mean? Well, creating structure, you might want to create some boundaries around some things. And healthy boundaries are good for emotional growth, especially for yourself. So if you need to take a break with something or someone, it's a good time for that too. When it comes to your money, how you earn it, how you get it, you need to think about the very beginnings, about how you've always been, and realize that because things are different, you can still apply those same values and those same processes, but you're going to need to identify it in a different way. You're going to need to show your work, right? So I can say that you can do that by getting clear on what you offer, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for others. You know, the second house is work. What is your personal work in the world? You know, it's not always, if you have a position at a fast food restaurant, of course, there are other goals, there are other dreams that you have. And what you do now is just to pay the bills. It doesn't negate the fact that you're a musician. And so you have to take yourself seriously. And one way that you can take yourself seriously is getting clear on what you offer by start writing about the struggle, about why your story has value. You know, every single one of us has dealt with some kind of emotional issue that's come up that's given us really great strength and that's helped us develop into someone different, where we pick up a hobby, where we, start a new creative process in order to bring that out. And so if you write about that, if you talk about that, if you get together in community and you share this story, this is where a lot of these value systems are going to come from. That's how you suss some of that out, is by kind of drawing back to the beginnings and making the story larger. People believe in your story. People want to hear the story. People want real people. You're going to need to probably speak about your unique processes, as people would ask you what you do for a living, what you do day to day, how you earn money. You know, people might start to see you as an authority and want to know how you got there. And so speaking about this process is important, and that's why I say if you get clear on what you offer, you can write that down in a bullet point. You can buy a website with your name, put your portfolio on there. You can create a pamphlet of your services. It can look like various different things, but it would be a good time to see what that could look like for you. Because other people need to know your methods and techniques. Because we are trying to have an uprising and a new breath in the world, because we're trying to understand ways of living that are different than what we've been doing, there is a need for those who are well-versed in the struggle. When you come from nothing, when you come from hardship, when you develop yourself because of that, you have something to give. And I don't know what that is for you, but it usually always can turn into something of value and something that can expand your resources and make them feel more encompassing. You may have strained home or family dynamics. They may be changing. You could be getting rid of things or people or starting fresh. Um, you might be doing some reconstruction, um, and it might be a little emotional to go through that change. So be gentle with yourself if you can and others. Compassion is hard to have when you're feeling taken aback by the situation at hand. Realize that boundaries might get crossed as Mars moves out of retrograde on the 13th. So now for you, now that you are a well-known, educated person about the astrological events, you know that now is a good time to say the things that need to be said while people are able to listen. Because after the 13th, it might be kind of hard for at least a couple weeks for people to hear the ideas, because a lot of people are going to be trying to say things. So be on the up. One way to soothe these ways in which we move in life with the moon in Cancer and the sun in Capricorn, you could increase spending time with special somethings or someones, and increasing touch through hugs, long hugs, 15 seconds or more. And if you can afford it, or if you have a great friend that offers a service that maybe you can trade for, massage, maneuvering the muscles and allowing the lymph and the adrenals to drain, would be a really good thing to do right now as you become stiff, as you're kind of just bundled up, you're not moving as much. And so to move the stagnation and to keep the health of your body, if you're not able to exercise, maybe you can invest in a massage or two. When we deal with the body, when we address the body, when we move it, when we exhaust the muscles, when we drain the lymphatic system, it helps our mental state clear up. It takes away the mental fog. And that is a great way to deal with mental states that make us feel full of anxiety and worry. And over the next 3 days, I ask you to increase your water, especially as the moon is in Cancer. It's a water sign. And then the sun in Capricorn in the 8th house, that's another water signature. So increase movement when you move your joints, when you move your muscles, and you hydrate with a lot of water. You're able to flush out and digest all that's been happening. You know what I mean? You want to let it go. There's always an intent to why these energies happen. It's not to always throw you for a loop. This time around, it's about a particular lesson. It usually always is. And the intent is to increase emotional maturity towards hardship and what's lacking in your life. Not everything truly looks like lack. Maybe it just feels that way for now. There's always a way in which it can be changed, and maybe it's not right at this moment, but I think that you will realize that if you use your higher mind through practical ways of getting yourself there, little by little, you will achieve what it is you're looking for. The intent is to increase emotional maturity towards hardship and what's lacking in your life. You do want to move through it. You don't want to ignore it, and you do want to be healthy about the approach. So giving yourself the space to create more is the best way and the plan of attack. Do it in any way that you see fit. And now is a good time to take back some of those emotional impulsive buys, to create structure around your finances, and to be responsible with your money. As I'm sure you see in the world and things that I've talked about in my previous videos, you can go back, they're a little bit more detailed on that, but you can see that things are changing, and you can feel the motivation within yourself to make it come to fruition. So do what you can. Whittle down. Reusable things. Make things more personal before you buy it. Be picky. It's a good time to be picky, and to not just take things that don't have an emotional connection for you. That's a good way to create a healthy boundary around your spending and your money habits. Because again, Taurus Scorpio represents our money, other people's money. And so we want to be focusing on our finances until June, in whatever ways that we can increase it and hold on to it, and not let it drain out. Next week we'll be talking about some other things. Be mindful of the 13th, and if you need a reading, you can reach me on my website. It's in the description below, astrologyinthewild.com, where you can get a reading about how energies may affect you in previous, future dates, or what's happening now. It's a good time to speak to people who can hear your way of communicating, and that can help you strategize new ways of doing things. So seek those people out, and I hope that you are able to rest and take it easy. Thank you for being with me. So much love to you, your families, many, many blessings, and I'll talk to you soon.